All right, guys. Good morning. Welcome to the Family First Life SkyPoint Get to 20K call. My name is Stephen Yee. I'll be your host this morning, but we're lucky to have a very, very special guest with us, Brittany Jarrett.
I'm here. Woohoo.
Thank you. Thank you for
Good job,
joining us.
SkyPoint.
And guys, this is Brittany Jarrett. I'm so excited to be able to have her on and share her story with us. I want to say about 2-3 months ago, we had a chance to meet in Sarasota, right?
Yes.
And just being able to hear her story. And Brittany was a stay-at-home mom for 5 years. She found Family First Life, and I think her first year she went Hall of Fame. Like that's amazing, right? So
Anyone?
let's jump right into it. Brittany, how'd you find Family First Life, and how'd you come across Family First Life?
Absolutely. Well, first off, Stephen, thanks for having me on. Awesome issue paid numbers, guys. You guys are exploding. That's so cool. Like Stephen said, prior to FFL, I was really out of the work field for about 5 years. I've got a 3-year-old and a 6-year-old, so I was pretty busy chasing them around, changing diapers, the whole 9 yards with that. So in the meantime, I did kind of keep an eye on the Indeed ads just in our area and just kind of, looking for something to supplement income, something to do part-time just to keep me busy. And I saw an ad, I guess, that Zach T had posted down from the Denver office, about life producer, make like 6 figures your first year, 250K plus, and I'm like, well, this sounds definitely like a scam or completely unreal, but let me send in my resume anyways. So sent in my resume, got in touch with Jordan. I definitely procrastinated a little bit, even on starting the Exam FX. It took me a little bit to get through that because I was still a little unsure, like, is this real or not? But got through, got my license, and here I am.
Nice. So you came through with an Indeed ad.
Correct.
Isn't that crazy? Because there's so many of us that go, well, why would I post Craigslist ads or ZipRecruiter, Indeed, Monster, Career Builder, whatever it is? And it's like,
Right.
you don't know what you're going to
I'm a
find.
product. I'm a product of the Indeed ad.
There you go. You know what's funny?
I'm
So
not.
like Colton Dewar, he's like one of our new up and coming studs. I think you met him at that trip we had.
I've seen some
He came through
videos.
Indeed as well. Just
Nice.
maybe a good idea. So, anyways,
Absolutely.
so how long you been with us? When did you get started with Family First Life?
So I got my license in November of 2019.
Okay.
So I think I started kind of running appointments like the end of November in December. Just kind of dabbling around. I wasn't taking it very seriously. I didn't have a legit schedule. Wasn't buying leads correctly. None of the above. But what kind of changed that for me is when I went to the convention in Las Vegas in February. So it literally just like lit me on fire watching everybody go up and get their rewards and just like the whole environment. I was like, I'm all in. Like I'm not messing around anymore. So the next couple months after convention, I finally took it seriously and started issuing out some numbers. So
What were you issuing before conference?
not even 20K. Yeah. So I think in February, my month was 13.
Okay. And then what
Yeah.
happened after? Because your numbers exploded. Like they didn't just jump up; they exploded.
Yeah. So I, just got more diligent with the schedule. I made sure that I'm dialing Mondays and Thursdays and I'm running 4 full days in the field. Also, lead flow was really important. I kind of live in a really rural area here in Colorado. So the lead vendors don't actually even allow me to place Facebook like final expense lead orders anymore. So I had to get some mail going, started, introducing travel trips pretty frequently. Like I just got back yesterday from a 3-day travel trip. I try to do that at least every other week and then run my mail that comes in over here. So I'm kind of going all over. But I think the main thing is I became diligent with my schedule. I got a good lead flow. That means having, 50 to 80 leads per dial day. So I could set, at least 30 appointments for my run
Right.
week.
And so that's the other thing. Because I kind of want to talk about that. I talked to Zach about it when we were in Florida, and I'm pretty sure you guys all think the same. That's why I wanted to have you share this with us. So many people use
Mm-hmm.
dialers, right? Because
Right.
they want to avoid dialing because they hate the phones.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that Zach dials on his own, Easton dials on his own. Like, what about yourself? Like, how do you feel about dialers versus you?
I'm all for myself because I'm
Right.
in control of this, right? Like I'm the one that cares the most about my success here. You know, I don't know that you could hire, I mean, you can always hire someone to do that, but I don't ever feel like they're going to take it as serious as we do, right?
Right. And they burn
No.
through your stuff and it's a learning experience.
Yeah.
Right. Like,
I like that. I get excited. I'm like, this is fun, and I'm gonna like set up awesome people to meet the next couple days. It's the same when I'm printing out leads. I'm like, we can legitimately print out money over here. It's
right.
just like the best feeling ever when all those leads are printing out. It's like,
That's so funny. That and see, that's the difference in mindset, right? Because like you're looking at it from a serving perspective. You're like, these people filled out a form. My job's to help them, and you're like, I'm excited to dial. And then you have folks that are top
right,
producers, and they're like, oh my gosh, I dread dialing, right? And it's just a shift of mindset because if we just looked at it like, hey,
yeah,
we're here to help people, I think the job becomes a lot easier.
right. Mindset's huge. I think that's the ultimate. I mean, the main aspect to this business is having control of that. You know, your mentality can make or break you over here. So huge. That's going to be, and not overcomplicating it. You know what I mean? Just keeping everything pretty simple. Don't overthink any part of the business too much.
Right. Let's jump right into the because you hit a few points that I do want to ask you about, but let's start with this one is how did you balance being a mom and being a Hall of Fame producer?
Yeah. So thankfully, I do have a spouse that's pretty supportive. That was huge. Number one, just making sure that all of like the home duties, getting kids to school, everything like that, that is all on him. So when it's my dial time or when it's my run days, I'm out. You know, like I'm focused on what I'm doing. So I think it's important, to have that balance, figure out, that other things aren't interfering with that focus, so I think that would kind of be like the main thing is just figuring out how to balance life and then, business, but being able to just, straight focus on what your task and goals are.
Right. And see, that's what I kind of share with people too, Brittany, is like we're only in the field like 4 days a week,
Yeah.
right? And like most people work
Right.
Monday through Friday. That's 5 days, right? We work four.
Right.
Like the other days we're home, we can be with our kids or family or whatever it is. So, it's
Mm-hmm.
just being able to fulfill that time that you actually have while you're working to make it as efficient as possible. Like that 8 o'clock to 9 o'clock, I'm actually dialing. I'm not trying to do the dishes and
Right.
walk the lawn and be like, oh, I should dial, but I'm not gonna. Like that's where we get hurt in this business, right? The
Right.
discipline aspect. And I noticed that like the more I talk to like Zach and you guys and Easton and some of these other guys, it's like you guys dial at 7:30, not at
Yeah,
8.
I'm on it. Like my phone is ringing right at 7:30. And the neat thing is like get it out of the way and all of those other things. If you want to go do the dishes in the afternoon, it's cool. Like go wash your car, go do all that stuff. But you like it's such a relief. Like you've already got your days lined out, and it's already done. So I'm real big on I'm like determined. I think that comes from me being a little competitive with myself. It's like when I'm dialing, like I am not like I don't even get out of my chair probably to go to the bathroom when I'm dialing. I'm just like, get this done, like I've got to get my 15 appointments so I can enjoy the rest of my day.
Right. So let's talk about that because you just hit on that. So 15 appointments. Is that what you guys run every 2 days? What you guys run for the week? Kind of share that with new folks because this call is to help people to get to 20 grand. You basically like 20 grand a month. You write like 20 grand a week, it feels like. So, what is your appointment schedule in terms of appointments set for the week?
So all structure again. I mean, you set a goal as long as you have enough leads and you're running enough appointments, you can hit that goal. So what my bare minimum is I try to shoot for about 7 to 8 appointments per run day.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm running final expense or if I'm going on a travel trip, sometimes I'll book 10 to 12. Like I'll stack them up, especially final expense because I'm getting pretty good with my time where I can get in and out of them a lot quicker than mortgage. But the main thing is again, wherever you're kind of planning on issue or what your goals are for that, you have complete control over that just by making sure, number one, you have enough leads to dial. Number two, you have a drop dead set goal on how many appointments you need to run for those next 2 days. And you're not letting anything interfere with that. So you can make up for people that may be sick or cancel, no shows, no sales, and still come out producing a pretty high amount.
Right. So out of the 30 appointments that you set, how many do you think you sit on?
On a good week, I'm pretty good about making sure I tie down my appointments. I get no-showed like everybody, but I don't get no-showed a whole lot. So if I'm booking 30 appointments, I would say probably on average, 20 to 25,
Wow.
are there. Yeah. So again, that's just all being focused on tie down with your phone script, just making sure that you're not quick setting, or you're not just telling them, hey, I'm going to drop something off, where they're just going to forget about who you are or the appointment itself. So
what is your tie down? So if you're sitting on 25 out of 30, that's amazing, right? I think the usual number that we usually see is out of the 30, most people will sit on like 18 to 20. So like, how are you getting those extra 5 to 7 appointments, you think?
I'm adamant about when I'm tying them down. Number one, I'm telling them, Bob, hey, go grab a pen and piece of paper. I think that's huge. I'll wait for 10 minutes till Bob comes back to the phone with the pen and piece of paper. I'm having him write down my name, my license number sometimes, just depending on how it's going. And then our appointment date and time. And then I'm, going to have Bob read that back to me, I think helps. And then I'm asking Bob, hey, Bob, what color's your house? It's also kind of funny to me because a lot of people don't know what color their house is. They'll have to think about it for a minute. Well, I think, so I'm asking what color is the house? Are the numbers on the mailbox? Is it okay for me to park in the driveway? Like I have several different types of questions that I'm making sure that I'm kind of having them visualize me showing up, the next day. And I tell them, hey, I'm a 5'10" blonde, I'll be in a black Jeep, just making them visualize me showing up to their house is huge.
Right. That's very good. I can only imagine why you don't get no shows. So that's strong. So out of that 20 to 25 that you sit with, how many of those do you think you close?
I think my closing ratio, if I sit with about, 20 to 25, I'm anywhere from 18 to 19. Like I'm 75, 80%.
Okay. Were you always that good?
No. It took me 4 months to figure this out.
So what do you mean by that? Like figure it out. What did you figure out in those 4 months?
Number one, the scheduling, right? So being diligent with the schedule, but number two, the structure of my in-home presentation. So I was all over the place when I would go into a house and they could tell. So number one, I was spending way too much time trying to befriend them so I could just pitch a sale at them, and they know
Right.
when you're doing that. So I think the number one thing, that changed from me not being great to being god awful terrible to being able to close at a higher ratio was just number one, my mindset, knowing that I'm going in there, I'm in control. Because to me, my point of view is that if they took the time to fill this out, they booked an appointment with me on the phone, now I'm at their house, like it's really weird if they don't get protection in place to me. So I'm either going to get kicked out of the house or I'm going to write a policy, and there's not going to be there's not an in between.
Right. Right. So do you think you build a lot of rapport nowadays, or you just go right into the point?
I go right to business. I may say one thing like, oh, cute how, just something real quick while we're walking to the table.
Mm-hmm.
And once we're at the table, it's straight business. I'll build rapport while I'm writing their application.
That's so funny. That's exactly how I do it. Because I used to be the guy that I wanted to be their best friend. Oh my gosh, yeah. Bob, look at that picture on the wall. Did you play baseball for USC? Oh, you're just a big USC. Like I would do all that, right? So and I'm fake, like, I'm right? looking at my clock and I'm like, oh shoot, there goes 15 minutes, right? And then they won't get off the topic. How do you reel them back in? and you're like, oh my
Right. And
gosh, I
then
got
you're
another
inviting
appointment.
to a
Say that
yeah.
again.
And then they're inviting you to a barbecue and you're in the friend zone and they're going to tell you they need to think about it, right?
Right.
Like it was just like that. And I almost felt like it's almost fake. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
when you're sitting there, I mean, you're almost just trying to set it up where you can get them comfortable enough where you can write them and it's so much easier just not to do it that way.
Right. And that's what was kind of weird. And I think a lot of brand new agents kind of struggle with that is they feel like this is sales, so they have to be nice and play proper. And granted, yes, we are in their
Right.
house, so we should be nice. But what I'm saying is like we need to challenge clients too.
Absolutely.
So like how often do you think you challenge clients in homes? And what do you mean by challenge clients? Like pressing them or making them feel uncomfortable, or what do you do in the home?
I mean, we're asking questions that make people uncomfortable, right? So we're asking them what it looks like if they don't have this in place. A lot of times if you're in a mortgage or you're sitting in a final expense with a husband and wife, a lot of my responses are, well, we never thought about that, so you're asking questions that, we're dealing with a subject that a lot of people don't want to talk about, but it's one of the one priorities that people should talk about. So I think that, building that emotion up and figuring out what the need is really important while you're in home. Just being assertive and letting them know, that you're not there to play games with them. You're there, you're going to be that person that if they don't wake up tomorrow, you want to make sure that their son or their daughter or their wife has this check in hand to take care of all these things that they're going to have to take care of at that point, so, and I tell people that, I'm not a quote tool, I'm going to be the agent that's here for you for the rest of your life, and going to be there on that day for you guys, so
That's
just
amazing.
making it very real.
And you said something that was so strong. You're like, I'm not a quote tool, right? And like new agents, I mean, I'm going to tell you my story, how bad I was, because I'm not very good at this. So like I rode along with Taylor and I watched him sell everything that he sat on that day, right? So I go in the field and I went 0 for 14 because I became a quote tool.
Yeah.
And people were like, well, how much is it going to cost? And I wrote it for them. And they're like, I'll think about it. I'll get back to you. Do you have a business card? And I was like, yeah, of course I do. Here you go. And then like, I remember calling Andrew from Every Home. And I was like, he was like, how did that appointment go? I was like, oh, I think I have it. I think it's going to be like $300 a month, but they're going to get back to me and let me know. And he was like, hey, dude, when they get back to you, let me know. And I was like, hater. I have a good rapport with people.
The feedback us.
And then I never got a phone call. I want to say to this day, I've never gotten a phone call back. It was just a very polite way for them to say, get out of my house.
Right. So I almost use the options. I call them options. I use that almost like I'm not even, if I'm sitting with somebody, I'm not going to show them options unless they're already sold. Right.
Right.
Because I find that in the beginning, that a lot of us do that, we're just in there and it's almost like they get the benefit of it and we walk out like feeling defeated.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then they're empty-handed too, because if they get sick or they don't wake up tomorrow, we failed them by just writing a number on the paper, not making sure they can get approved for it.
Right. And it's sad because, we have agents that literally have been running instant internet life leads. And like, we'll buy the lead on like, let's say a Saturday, but it's not a dial day. Right. And then we'll call on Monday. And then by the time we get a hold of somebody, it's like, hey, they passed away over the weekend.
I've definitely had that. It's a sinking feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So being able to, get on the phones and set the appointments to help people. Because like you said, if they want to think about it because they're trying to shop us half the time or wishy-washy and they just need someone to push them through. And I think that's the difference between a Hall of Fame producer, a 20K producer, and a brand new producer is they don't know how to overcome that. I need to think about it, or how to make them, push them, or guide them to make the correct decision for their family. Right. Like go ahead.
And I think like that a lot of that's going to involve, how your introduction, into the steps of your in-home in the beginning, you're laying it out like, hey, I'm Brittany. I'm a medical underwriter. I work for all these different insurance companies right here, showing them that, telling them, you're going to make sure and find something that's comfortable for their budget, makes sense, and that they can get qualified for. And you're going to help them fill the application out today. So a lot of that, like, I need to think about it and things like that, I think comes from not having enough structure in the very beginning and laying out what it's going to look like, because these people are looking for guidance. Right. So I think once you kind of like realize that and it clicks, that they're looking for guidance, they want somebody, sometimes even if you're pushing somebody to like get it done, it's kind of weird how the table will turn and they're actually super grateful and thankful that you were that person to get it done for them, because right. A lot of these people, they'll procrastinate and they'll sit with like 15 different people. And when I walk in, like I said, I'm like, I'm going to get this done for you, or I'm going to be out in like 2 minutes.
Right. So. Right. That's awesome. So let's talk about your leads aspect now. So you're getting 50, 60, 80 leads a week. You said, what type of leads are you running?
All leads. All leads are good leads. I get asked that question a lot. I don't judge leads. Like I said, where I'm at here in Colorado, I can't place Facebook final expense, which I love. Instant leads are starting to come in over here, which is a game changer. I love the instant life leads. They're awesome. So I definitely pick those up around here every chance I get. And then I've got MailPro final expense mailers. I've got retro mortgage mailers going over here. And then what I like to do, like when I just got back from my 3-day travel trip to Colorado Springs, is I split between Happy and Game Time. I know they're kind of going away because these instants are just so good. They're like taking over, which is great. But I like to split my order between those two. So I'll get like 50 to 60 to split between those two vendors. Then I'll go on the CRM and fill my schedule with whatever's in that area, whether it be call-in silver, are they called silver call-in leads? Right. I did a couple of those mortgage call-in leads. And then of course filling them in with instants. But actually on my last sales trip, one of the larger premiums I put into place was off of an $11 instant lead. It was like $367 a month. So those are game changers.
Yeah. And see, that's the thing I think most people get deceptive about. And they go, oh, it's because you guys have all the good leads. And I'm like, really? Like, would you like to call my leads too? It's like the difference between a top producer and someone that isn't is the amount of leads. Because at the end of the day, right. We just want an appointment to protect somebody, right? And what you said, it resonates, because I want to say you match your lead flow to mine, to Will Orr, to Colton, to Brandon, and most of these other top producers we have. Direct mail final expense, direct mail mortgage, instance, you have Facebook leads. Like, we blend everything. And to tell you the truth, like I can give you and it's like you can tell a good story of every sale you've had from every lead type, because at the end of the day, they're just people and we're just trying to help them. Right.
Yeah. We're just trying to get in front of as many people as we can and help as many people we can. And it doesn't matter how old the lead is, what kind of lead it is. It's just how many leads you have.
Right. I agree. So let's talk about last month. Right. So Brittany and I had a chance to be in Vegas last month, and we were both like 65, 70 grand out from Hall of Fame. But she was further out and she hit it, and she did it by way more than I did. So like, that was amazing. I think Brittany, you issue like 70 some thousand probably last month?
Yeah, right at 70.
Right. Yeah. So like, can you share that with us? Like, what happened? How did you do that?
Determination, number one. Like, I'm very, again, I'm super competitive. So when they told me I was I was projected to hit like 5 or 10K away from 400, I was like, no way. Like, I'm not allowing that to happen. So I basically worked, like, I ran as many appointments. I crammed, I was running like Friday, Saturday, Sunday, like just trying to sit as many people as I possibly could within that time and bumping up leads. So I just got in front of a lot more people, and lo and behold, all of a sudden I issued this crazy high number. So just a matter of activity, increasing your activity. You can do anything.
Right. How many appointments do you think you ran in December as a whole?
don't know that I've calculated, but I would probably say, I mean, it was definitely over 120 maybe. I don't
Right.
know.
And you think,
Yeah.
and see, the thing that blows me away is like you'll do in a month of appointments, 120 appointments in a month. What some people will
Mm-hmm.
stretch 5, 6 months down the road. And then they get mad
Right.
when they don't get the results, but they want to compare their success to yours. They go, oh, Brittany wrote 70 grand. I only wrote six. And I'm like, dude, she ran 120
Over.
appointments in a month.
Yeah.
You ran
Yeah.
12, you know? So,
Right.
um, do you mind me asking, what was your lead bill for that to issue
I
70,000?
mean, I'm kind of terrible. I just buy. I'm crazy with my leads. Like I'm just buy leads. Like so I don't. I mean, I spend on average about 2,000 a week on leads. So I would say probably anywhere that was probably anywhere from 10 to 12,000
Right.
that for the month.
So that's not bad because you go 12 times five, it's 60, and you still wrote 70, right? And see, that's
Right.
the thing
You're
that,
always coming out.
right, you always do. And the thing that blows me away, and I'm so glad I asked you that question and you responded that way, is so many people go, what's my ROI on this lead? And I'm like, dude, like, I don't care. I just know that for every dollar I spend, I'm going to make 4 to 5. That's it.
Right.
Like, but most people go, well, Steve, I bought a batch of these leads and I only issued pay this. And I'm like, okay, so buy some more. Like,
Yeah. I honestly, I'm such a simple minded person. I keep things so simple. Like, so a lot of questions, even in relation to that, like, I don't pay attention. I know I just have to have a bunch of leads, so I don't overcomplicate. I'm not sitting there with a calculator and like, I know I make money every single time. I've never lost money on a lead order.
right.
So I don't sit there and calculate it really.
Yeah. Perfect. So, and you're hiring and building an agency now. So if you were to hire yourself right now, brand new, and you're doing a lead strategy or a game plan, like, hey, this is what we're going to do to help you get started. Because we actually have a lot of new agents on this call trying to get to 20K a month, let alone like what you do, 20K a week, right? What
Yeah.
would be your advice for these folks that are jumping on and getting started and have no idea what Family First is? They haven't been to a conference. They're scared to invest money into their business. Like, what would be your advice? Like, hey, this is where I was. This is where I'm at now. Let me tell you how to get there. Like, what would be your advice?
Number one, most importantly, is plugging in, tuning in to trainings, because before I even started, I mean, I spent hours and hours watching top producers. That's the beautiful thing about this business is you don't have to have a sales experience background. You don't have to know anything about insurance. You have to care about people. You can get on the YouTube. There's, our trainings, our weekly trainings on Facebook. So plug in, figure out what people are doing and mimic it. You don't have to mimic it to a T. Find what works for you and make it your own. Number one. So number one, plug into trainings. Number two, I think it's important in the very beginning to find kind of a mentor, somebody that can kind of guide you along until you can kind of take it on your own, so somebody that can kind of figure out what, number one, your lead budget is going to be coming into this thing. I didn't have anything. My first lead purchases went on a credit card, but I trusted the process. And like I said, from there, I made a couple of sales, took that money, reinvested, and now a snowflake turned into an avalanche,
Right.
you know?
Like that.
So that's important. And then the final thing, again, is just creating a structure with your schedule. I think I was listening to something Andrew Taylor was saying yesterday from like a call from like 2019. And he said, the farther that people plan their schedules out, the more money they make. Have you heard that
Yeah.
before?
Because if not, your
Yeah.
schedule owns you and you don't own your schedule.
Correct. Yeah. So I think those would be the biggest tips. And then if you have questions, reaching out for help, and then getting control of your mind, that's going to be like the game changer for anything. It's just knowing that like we are independent in this business. So you have to take the initiative and control over your actions. And, it really, like, over the last year, I've just grown so much as a human, which I'm grateful for, because it's really just changed my perspective on a lot of things in life. But it's just huge to make sure you keep a level head and you know that like we have a very serious responsibility to handle here. And I have a winner mentality that I know that no matter what's going to come in front of me, that I can conquer it. So I think just having that mindset from the beginning is going to be really important for you during your, business and getting out in the field.
That's great. And see, like the training that we have is free. And sometimes I know as an agent, we're glad it's free, but like sometimes I wish it wasn't because it is free. A lot of our agents take it for granted, and then it's like when
Right.
you start hiring people from like other companies and they're like, yeah, like we watch
Mm-hmm.
all the FFL trainings. I'm like, really? They're like, yeah, you train us how to sell. Like all your training
Yeah.
videos teach us how to sell. We're like, but our own agents will watch it because it's free and it's inconvenient because it's at 8 or 9 or 7 or whatever the time is. So one last question I have for you before we open the call for the rest of the folks on here to ask you any questions if they have any. How often did you talk to Zach when you were brand new, or even now, right? Because you said something about seeking a mentor, and like Zach was the person that hired you, so I'm assuming you worked with him quite often. How much do you talk to Zach, or did you talk to Zach when you're brand new, or even right now?
Every day. Yeah, I mean, I was calling him my first appointment. Zach, he told me pretty much, get out there. We got a lead structure going. I didn't focus on product knowledge. I pulled up to my first appointment. I was like, hey, Zach, I'm here. Like, I was clueless. So, yeah, definitely in the beginning, I called him like a lot. I mean, on a daily basis in every single home, I was making sure and then, even as I kind of was figuring out, I still asked Zach questions, just depending on, the situation, because he's more knowledgeable. He's ran a lot more appointments, especially like mortgage and things. Sometimes, I still have questions. So we're always growing and learning. It's important to reach out constantly. I mean, I would daily.
Yeah. And I've always told like new agents when we've hired them, I would always tell them like, hey, the person that calls me the most makes the most money because I'm here to shorten your learning curve. And
Yep.
I mean, you can go figure it out yourself, which is fine. But,
Yeah.
it's like we've been here, done it. Like we know the underwriting guides in our mind, right? Because we've
Mm-hmm.
ran through so much. But it's like with the new agent, they want to feel like they're always independent. They want to do it on their own. And I'm like, there's no need for an ego or pride in this because it's like at the end of the day, you're just hurting the client more than anybody
Correct.
else because you want to do it on your own
Mm-hmm.
instead of putting the correct coverage in place. So um, we actually have a
Yeah. Or
question.
oh,
Say that again.
completely. Or you may lose the protection completely,
And you
if
don't
you're
make
going
money.
in. Yeah, exactly. And they're not getting insurance. So,
Right. Right. So we do have a question from, so folks on the attendees list, if you do have a question, feel free to type them out and we'll read them to Brittany so she can answer them. Brandon Kitchings said, how do you juggle being a mom and producing at a high level?
my husband. I have a good partner that helps me balance that. Um, and again, I mean, we kind of went over it a little bit earlier. It's just they know, like I sit down with Adam and kind of go over. He knows what my schedule is, like what my dial days are, what my run days are. For instance, like I'm having this meeting right now this morning. He takes the kids away, things like that when I need to focus. Um, I would say, I guess if you're in a position where you don't have that support system, you're going to have to probably find somebody that can help you juggle that, because if I had to be focusing on taking the kids to school and doing all the other things that are involved with being, a parent, if I had to focus on that and business on, my run or dial days, it's not going to look very good.
Right. So if you guys have any questions, you can raise your hand. I'm not like physically, but like press the button and we'll see it. Or you can type the question out and then we can get an answer. But Brittany, thank you. It's just so amazing to watch her growth over the last year. I remember just meeting Zach throughout, you know, the year, and like he was like, hey, we got this new stud on the team. And I'm like, every time I look at the leaderboard, I'm like, what the heck? Like, where do these people come from? You know, and then just kept seeing your name over. Like, I was like, okay, cool. Like, we know who Easton is. That's great. What they do. But it's like, just keep seeing new
Yeah.
names like yourself and Wiley and some of these other guys. And we're just like, oh my gosh. Like,
Jacob,
yeah, Jake
the
is
beast.
yeah. That's another story for another day. Like, I think it's like the quickest to ever go Hall of Fame in the company.
Yeah, fastest ever in FFL history to hit Hall of Fame. Someone
Yeah,
I saw a question pop up. I don't know if I can click on it.
yes. Roderick Jackson said, sorry, I think I missed it earlier, but what type of leads are you working?
I work all leads. So all leads are good leads. That's definitely something you should live by. Having a diverse group of leads, not just sticking with one particular type, is going to make it a lot easier. So like we were talking about, is just creating a diversity, whether you do mailers, Facebook final expense, getting on the CRM, grabbing up instance, new internet leads, mortgage leads, all leads. I run all leads.
Sweet. All right. I don't know if we have any other questions, but if we don't, thank you, Brittany, for taking time out of your day. And we really appreciate you. And if there's any favor we can return, please let us know. But we look forward. I look forward to, wait, what conference are you going to?
I'll be in Kansas City.
Oh, okay, cool. Well, majority of us will be in Phoenix, but I look forward to watching you get your red jacket from the room. And thank you. Thank you for jumping on.
Congrats on Hall of Fame to you. And thanks for having me on. I enjoy getting to give back to everyone. So anyone can do this. Just keep positive, have a good mindset, and go to work. Don't overthink it.
All righty. Well, thank you for jumping on. And guys, let's go close out the week strong. We have a run day today and tomorrow. And let's have another strong submit week, another record-breaking week. And if you haven't registered for conference, you should definitely register. Kind of like what Brittany said, she went from issuing 12, 13 grand a month to 50 grand a month right after she came back from conference. Yes, it is inconvenient. Yes, it is uncomfortable, but success requires both of those things. You do not become successful in your comfort zone. So with that being said, have a great day, guys. And we'll see you soon.
Go crush it. Bye.